Welcome to the Power Platform Show. Thanks for joining me today. I hope today's guest inspires and educates you on the possibilities of the Microsoft Power Platform. Now, let's get on with the show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about mega apps or companies that are building on the Power Platform at scale. Today's guest is from the United Kingdom. He works at Network Rail as a Power Platform technical lead. He's responsible for defining strategy, governance, security, and delivering solutions on the Power Platform. He's running the London Marathon in 2024 for Headway, the brain injury charity. You can find links to his bio, socials, etc. in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, James.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
All good. I didn't know whether that marathon, if you'd already run it, or whether I saw it was last year that we ran that marathon. When was it?
I feel like it ran me, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It was in April this year. It was a really great experience for a charity that's kind of close to me. I'm actually running it next year, maybe stupidly enough, for a different charity. And hot off the press, next year, Mr. Chris Huntingford and myself are doing the London Landmarks Half Marathon,
Nice.
raising money for Headway. I think that speaks volumes for him as a person to support me through what he has done for the last few years through a difficult time.
Mm-hmm. He's an interesting guy, Chris, in that he really engages well with people, right? He takes everything personally. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we all need cheerleaders in our life. Obviously, don't picture Huntingford in a cheerleader's outfit. That would just be weird. Might be too late for that. But yeah. I think he's done a lot for people personally and in their careers as well. So yeah, massive shout out to him.
Yeah. So good, so good. Before we, talk about what you're doing in the Power Platform space, tell me a bit about food, family, fun. What do you do when you're not working? What do you like to eat? Who do you like to hang out with?
Let's talk about food first, because that's number one in life.
Nice.
I love to eat chicken wings. I spoke on Sprint Zero podcast about my love for a chicken restaurant near where I live called Chicken George. Unbelievable wings, burgers, anything. The owner is like the Willy Wonka of chicken. I have meetings there after work, meet my friends there, have a great time. So yeah, love chicken wings. And to counter that in terms of fun, I guess running and fitness after quite a, catastrophic head injury, I guess, in 2021 after, I fall and I had a brain hemorrhage or brain bleed. I guess once I kind of knew what day of the week it was and what my prognosis might be, I wanted to put health and fitness at the forefront of my day to try and give my body, the best chance of recovery. I need to get fitter. I went through that stage like, most people, I guess, go through after an injury or an illness where, obviously I felt down. I didn't know what my future would be like. I didn't know if I'd be able to work properly again. So I turned to food, piled on the weight. But yeah, after maybe 6 months, I kind of saw the light at the end of the tunnel and, tried to put fitness at the forefront of my day. And now, like even today, I ran a 10K this morning before work. Because no matter what chaos goes on at work, I know I've done something for myself. So yeah, I think that's in terms of fun. I also like going to Ibiza with my friends, having a good balance. I think fitness, but also going to Ibiza or festivals or going into London and having good times with my friends. So yeah, I think like to get a good balance where I try to remain active and fit, but then also like to think I know how to let loose.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that would be my fun. Just a general nerd, I guess, as well. I think the Power Platform community generally are a really great bunch. Have all got their niches and their special interests and stuff. So yeah, lots of different things for fun. A big shout out to my mini dash hound called Ted. I got him after my head injury, and I wanted to get a different responsibility other than work. When it happened in 21, we were still kind of in a pandemic-ish situation. So I think I got him in 2022 actually. Yeah. So not long after the pandemic. I'd just come back from Texas. In fact, I bought him when I was out in Texas, or put a deposit down.
Wow.
Took myself down to or over to Texas to do some rehabilitation after my injury. So I lived out there for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And my work at Network Rail fortunately supported me really well for that time. So, shout out to the Network Rail as an employer, but for my employees' mindset, I guess, yeah, thanks for their support, and to my boss, Steve Bell, for everything he did through
Nice.
that tough time, I guess.
Yeah. So how did the brain injury happen?
Well, it was in 2021. We could kind of socialize with people. I was just walking with a family member. It had been snowing, so I slipped on snow and ice over a local golf course. The only thing that broke my fall, fell backwards, was my head. I don't really know what I landed on. I didn't really think too much about it at the time. It was definitely obviously hard from the ice. And yeah, I hit the back of my head where my visual processing is, so my occipital lobe
Wow.
near my cerebellum, and very fortunate to miss my brainstem. It's a very bizarre situation, to be honest. I mean, we could probably talk about it for sort of full hour or whatever, but yeah, it was a tough time. I kind of got misdiagnosed multiple times that it was just a concussion, and then weeks after it happened, I had a spinal or neurospinal injury called hypertonia. So I lost about 60-ish% of my spinal muscles and down my back and my neck. Couldn't walk properly for over a year, I guess. Couldn't stand upright. So yeah, that's why I wanted to do the London Marathon, because I was told
Yeah.
that to some degree I might not be able to walk properly again, I guess, by physios. So yeah, it was a bit of a, we'll say, a wave to the people who were a little bit negative in that situation. When I picked up my marathon medal, I guess, as a nice photo of me at the finish line where it says congratulations on finishing the London Marathon. And I put a special message to myself. So I had a Headway t-shirt on,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saying, for me, my injury in January 2021, and also for the 350,000 people that are, admitted to hospital every year in the UK that suffer
Wow.
brain injuries. So yeah, it was an emotional day.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, I'm grateful for the mindset it's given me and the view that I have on life now. I think I'm obviously not grateful for the trauma, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of not the same person. But I don't always think that's a bad thing. It's helped
Mm-hmm.
me really know who can be there for me in life and who I should be there for as well. And yeah, I know it's in the past, but I look forward now already.
Yeah. Wow. Just as you say, life changing, right? And so I can expect if you came off a motorcycle, I can expect if you're in a car accident, like that's where you would associate, but to fall backwards and just it's like, as they say, a freak accident, right? So crazy. So you ran the marathon. Did you have? So is that the first time you've run a marathon at that point?
Yeah, I hated the idea of running before my injury. I've played a lot of sport, but just running just bored me, to be honest. But
Yep.
I think I started around August last year,
Mm-hmm.
running. So yeah, I've been running for 7-ish months, I guess, before the marathon. It wasn't particularly quick, but I mean, it was a story and a cause that was close to me. So I thought I'd put every effort into it. You learn a lot about yourself as a person, I think, from
Mm-mm-mm.
running, looking after your body, your mind, sticking to a plan, regime, routine, which you can kind of, the cross transfer skills, I guess, into the workplace.
Amazing, amazing. So tell us a bit about where you work, what you do.
It could be a bit of a long intro. So I guess my job is, Chris will vouch for this. I'm a solution architect, an enterprise architect. I own a low-code strategy at Network Rail. I kind of co-manage a dev team, a pro dev team on and offshore in Egypt and India.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a technical lead, technical admin, basically jack of all trades, probably master of none. The organisation I work for, we own and manage the infrastructure, the railway infrastructure in England, Wales, and Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't operate like the actual train services itself; they're train operating companies, but we maintain the infrastructure, make sure it's as reliable as possible, and most importantly, as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got loads of different job roles. Obviously, I work in central IT, where we have signalers, track engineers, project managers, people in legal, HR, finance, you name it. Really, wide job roles available at Network Rail. So we've got 42,000-ish permanent employees plus
Wow.
contractors.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're kind of like an arm's length public body, part of, or like arm's length from the Department for Transport in the UK. We just had a new government formed in the UK, so we will be forming Great British Rail,
Mm-hmm.
Railways, GBR. So we'll probably end up merging with the train operating companies and other bodies to form like a super organization, I guess, to kind of, I guess, be fully public to some degree, which will make us huge. I guess over 100,000 people, would be fair to say. I think we've got over 20,000 miles of track. We operate and and maintain things like bridges and level crossings, the track itself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's safe in terms of leaf fall. In the autumn, we manage 20 of the largest stations across England, Scotland, and Wales. So yeah, quite a lot of things going
Yeah.
on in there.
That's amazing. So, what came to mind there, because I didn't know you covered Scotland as well, was, of course, the Harry Potter Bridge, which I've gone and stood above and watched the steam engine come through that way. Tell me, how long has the company been in business?
Well, we've had very different names.
Mm-hmm.
We've had rail track and all sorts really. So certainly before my time, in terms of how long I've graced this earth. So yeah, I mean we've had very different. We've been public through rail track. Obviously, we're currently Network Rail.
Yep.
We've got GBR coming. So yeah, I can't even remember how long we've been going for. Certainly before my time.
But did I get this right? As in, you or the iterations of your company beforehand, it's around 200 years, isn't it? Didn't you guys invent the railway for the world?
Yes. Well, I think we can claim that one. Yeah, I mean we have great heritage in the railway, obviously from the steam engine times.
Mm-mm.
And I think our consulting arm at Network Rail usually get a commission to go out to USA to advise on railway implementations.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we really have a great reputation worldwide for rail.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, amazing. So not a young company. So how did you, as an organization, get started with the Power Platform?
Yeah, sure. So it's around 2019, I think we first started kind of dabbling, even before I kind of came into role.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my background was I studied computer science at uni. I went into a full stack development role. Ended up in Network Rail as a junior PM because I wanted to understand the business side of
Mm-hmm.
things. And then 2020, I kind of nagged my now boss to give me an opportunity in the digital factory, which traditionally was a full stack team
Mm-hmm.
developing like mobile apps for the railway. So yeah, I guess around late 2019, early 2020 was when we really started to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And the pandemic meant that everyone had to change the way that it was working. So they needed to, a lot of our office-based staff were obviously working remotely. People were looking at new ways of developing collaboration tools and automating processes, assigning tasks to people, etc. So yeah, over the pandemic, it kind of skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm. And give us a feel currently around how many apps, automations, portals, any of the bits that make up the Power Platform. How big is the implementation roundabout at Network Rail?
I think it's about 28,000 power apps and flows.
Wow.
Yeah, 8,500 power apps and about 20,000 flows, 2,500 makers. I'm not a fan of citizen developers, as in not the concept, the name.
Yeah.
I don't think the job title should define who someone is.
Mm-hmm.
If, there might be a citizen dev or quote unquote citizen dev. Is actually a better developer than one of our pro devs, but just because I don't have a job title,
Yeah.
I'm not called that. So yeah, 2,500 makers, 28,000 apps and flows, 16 to 18,000 monthly active Power App users.
Wow.
In terms of consumers of Power Apps,
Yeah.
and growing. I see between 2 to 500 new apps a month and about 700 new flows a month.
Wow.
Granted, a cleanup is needed, much like my bedroom and car. So, but it's great, right? Like the fact that people are, even if they're creating James test app or flow,
Mm-mm.
it might not ever get used, but the fact that people from different industries in their realm, not just in IT, are even wanting to develop things is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
most of our makers are outside of IT, which makes it even better because I think after all, makers know their business problems much better than any partner will know. As we've probably discussed on LinkedIn on some posts that you've done,
Yeah.
and they know their business problems better than what we do in IT. So why not empower them to develop, especially the extra smalls, the smalls and the medium sized solutions, and for the larger and extra large solutions, let's get fusion teams involved to blend either partner led deliveries in collaboration with makers or even us as a pro dev team, or even better us as a pro dev team. I think keep it in house where we can.
If I looked at a high level at the apps running in your org, what would the top 3 be at the top of that list? What's the kind of use cases generally?
Put me on the spot now. No, number one. See, this is a contentious topic, right?
Yeah.
Because we're relying on a stable COE toolkit install, which we don't have at the moment. We've got so many assets, and the traditional Cloudflare approach of COE toolkit doesn't really work very well for large tenants.
Yes.
So the contentious one, we're looking at the data export one, but I know for a fact that safety events is number one. See around 7,000 unique users a month of that one. So that's all about somebody reporting something that basically a close call. So something could turn into an event.
Yep.
So someone is logging that. We've actually got 40,000 per app passes assigned for that production environment.
Wow.
Wow, indeed, because the licensing model is kind of broken, but that's one for another day.
Yeah.
But definitely that would be number one at the moment. I would say our shared services forms is probably up there as well in terms of digitizing our HR forms. Traditionally, they would be filled in manually by someone, but we moved them into Power Apps and Power Platforms to automate that process, to repurpose, not replace headcount, and just streamline that whole process where we can get some data validation in, make sure that the data is being captured is correct. So yeah, shared services would be up there. And then we see a lot of track engineering forms and inspection forms. So, we could be here for the next probably 20, 30 years and still not digitize every form and process in never rail.
Wow.
So lots of inspection stuff, people on track, maybe they've got some projects going on. They need to do a line block, close a line, for example. A lot of that is going down the Power Platform route, where obviously you can capture data rather than just, sit on a piece of paper, which you can't really do much with, obviously. You can obviously capture quality data rather than, most of our frontline workers, obviously, they might be working, November, December time, especially. It's always freezing cold in the UK. Imagine them with a piece of paper and a pen, freezing, it's raining, it's windy, horrendous. Suddenly we can digitize that form and give them a better experience. And, they can complete that form, with a tablet, etc. And just that data can then obviously be centralized, reported on, decisions can be made. So yeah, probably didn't answer your question.
No, it's good.
Straight off, but that's the sort of flavor of things that we develop.
I have a lot of people say, and I've seen a lot in the enterprise space, which your implementation would be considered, around the world, that particularly from enterprise architects, that they have been sold a hard story around citizen dev and anybody can create apps. And the concern it's created for them is, well, if anybody can do it, it can't be enterprise, because not everybody has formal training on app development, security, application lifecycle management, etc. How would you answer, is the Power Platform an enterprise tool for organizations?
Let's take a quick break.
Are you ready to transform your career in just 90 days? Join me on the 90-Day Mentoring Challenge and unlock your full potential. As I listen to the podcast, enroll now and get 10% off using the code MBAP. That's MBAP at the checkout. Don't miss this opportunity to learn from industry leaders and accelerate your growth. Visit ako.nz365guy.com and start your journey today.
Yes, but SharePoint is not a relational database to be used at scale. And my personal opinions or views of my own, and not those of my organization,
Mm-hmm.
are that firstly, associating a power platform with low code as a term discredits, in my opinion, the technology and the
Mm-hmm.
people that develop it, because it's great you can develop apps at scale and quickly, you can develop them at scale, but also you can develop really complex things,
Yes.
but also quickly. And I think when non-techie people, maybe, stakeholders, see the term low code, they just think, oh, drag and drop, it does it for you.
Mm-mm.
Obviously, with Copilot, it can lead you there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not there yet. So I guess in answer to your question, I think it can be an enterprise grade platform if it's governed correctly,
Mm-hmm.
if you empower your makers properly, and that means with a hub site, a SharePoint hub site that we've just released, directing people to self-serve,
Mm-hmm.
to put communities in place, to help each other, user-to-user support, almost like an internal Stack Overflow that we have with the Teams site.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it has to be security first, right? Like, if you don't, security and governance first, you have to strike a balance where you're not blocking people, but equally it can't be free reign. You can't have open DLPs and,
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. So you have to strike a balance. It can be enterprise grade if it's rolled out properly and resourced properly at platform level. Unfortunately, at the moment at our organization, it's probably fair to say that the platform isn't resourced properly, but it is well governed.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's not resourced properly because I'm single-handedly running the whole platform for one of the top 20 UK users of Power Platform and one of the top 250 globally.
Wow.
That's not me blowing my own trumpet. That is whoever is in that role is a single point of success, I like to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, is it governed properly? You empower people properly, you set up communities, and you resource the platform properly. And you've got a really tight DLP from the outset, which is what we didn't have when I inherited it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be onto a winner, because I think if you constantly rely on partners to deliver solutions, that knowledge that they are taking away in terms of what they've built, you're forever reliant on that partner.
Mm-mm-mm.
Whereas if you can empower your makers and treat it as a business transformation, not IT transformation,
Yeah.
kind of rollout, then you're onto a winner, because, like I said before, your makers know their business problems better than anyone else. You just have to make sure that they have the kind of resources available to develop properly, safely, and in a future-proof manner.
Yeah.
Then I think it could be an enterprise grade. Unfortunately, the licensing model lets the platform down at the moment, if I'm honest. And I mentioned security as well. Microsoft have put secure by default into their kind of vision.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there needs a big asterisk there, because it's not secure by default if you're not full premium license. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
until an organization like us proves the value of premium at scale,
Yeah.
unless an organization has made a strategic decision to go down a power platform route and invest millions of pounds a year in licensing, then you have to prove the value of the product. But the current model, in my opinion,
Yeah.
doesn't enable an organization of our size to do that. And the things like managed environments are a bit of a bugbear for me as well. That's not secure by default. That's a secure by default asterisk if you're a full premium organization,
Yeah.
because the default environment is the problem.
Interesting. There's so much that I want to unpack there, but I know we're going to have time constraints. But maybe we'll have an offline discussion. I'd be interested in you taking a look at the blog post that I published tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
Around Center for Enablement at Scale, and see how much you have done and what I've covered there. It's not short; it's over 2,000 word post, so it's a bit of a longie. But I put a bit of thought into it. That aside, tell me, you talked about having offshore development teams. Are they owned by you directly? And what I mean by that, are they an extension of your team rather than, you're hiring one of the big four consulting crowds and they're providing those resources to you? Or are they somebody that's kind of paid directly by Network Rail? I know they might not necessarily have the Network Rail brand because that's how offshore development centers run, but are they definitely an extension of your team?
They're an extension of our team, but we pay an organization to provide that team, if that makes sense. But they fit in with our sprint teams.
Yeah.
So they're not Network Rail employees.
No.
It's just a harsh truth of the fact that developers offshore provide our organization a lot better value. That being said, we have a fantastic apprenticeship scheme in Rail.
Yep.
Ben Atherton, who is our, I guess, head of power platform engineering, is 24 or 25. You might me for that. Not getting days right, but he joins with me in 2020 into the digital factory. We had not really much idea about what power platform would give the digital factory. Low code was relatively unknown, but Ben has progressed from being an apprentice, and it's fair to say that he didn't really know what direction his career was going to go down, into a low code developer as a permanent role, and now basically head of power platform engineering in the best part of 4.5 years. Our apprenticeship scheme is fantastic. All of our permanent low code developers, apart from one, is a former apprentice.
Wow. I definitely want to unpack that as a separate thing as well. But my final question, based on our timing for today, is you talked about 2,000 makers in your pool. And how do you facilitate engagement with 2,000 people? How do you facilitate communicate even and I know, you can just blast out an email, but how do they feel like they are part of something inside Network Rail that is wrapped around this technology? And I suppose in a way I'm asking for how you create that internal community that has been effective, and that I assume people want to get involved and want to advance themselves, even though it might not be in alignment with how they're paid or compensated or in their day job type role. It might be more of what Google would refer to as a 20% project, something they did on the side outside their core project. How do you create that cohesion?
Yeah, so the first thing we pretty much did was set up that team site. I'm not going to say the name of it because Hasbro might sue me for saying it, but it's not a particularly unique name in terms of the community. But we set up a team site that we put most people in who we saw from the COE toolkit that they were building. So we run monthly calls with them. We have show and tells, for example. So like rather than it just be a forced approach with, oh, we're blocking the HTTP connector and you need to license your stuff properly and stop stuffing it in SharePoint and stuff. There's a bit of a balance because there's a bit of a carrot and a stick kind of situation, I guess. So rather than me as a, quote unquote professional developer, whatever my background is, rather than me sitting there and say how to do a piece of functionality like offline functionality with, SharePoint and all that kind of stuff, I don't think people really receive that very well, if I'm honest. I think people relate to other people that have been in similar situations. So we do the show and tell. So maybe an engineer or someone who was in signaling will come on. They will present their solution. I won't say app, but they're like thinking about solutions now.
Correct.
Thankfully, and I think if we can strike that balance between showcasing governance and what you need to follow, but also empowering them to make. Maybe someone comes on and says, I've never even touched Excel before, and now I've developed this application or this solution. Then people are inspired by people who are like them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we use that monthly call to articulate changes in the platform, changes in the network, but also to showcase the great things that the community are doing. We now have, it was a really quick thing, so don't judge me on it being a PowerPoint slide, but basically one slider, I guess, of a solution. So, a couple of pictures of the apps and maybe BI stuff on there. And then also down the left about who develops it and what the business problem was, what the return of investment was, what elements of the Power Platform they use. So people can gain inspiration that way. We've got some great things coming with a solution catalog to surface what's been built, the value, but also in linking it back to the enterprise stuff, the support details and the data sensitivity, etc. So that will be a registration. That data will then be surfaced into a catalog, which will promote reuse before duplication. It gets people talking to each other as well. The community will be like, oh, I really like your project management tool that you built. Can we talk? Can I reuse it?
Yeah.
Can I enhance it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
We've got the SharePoint Hub site, which is like a central repository for people to self-serve. It also takes tickets away from me as well, where people can resolve things. We've got a developer pathway coming as well, probably end of the year or next year, where in terms of the sphere that people might think about a platform where anyone can come in and develop a business critical solution.
Mm-hmm.
That is true, but then also it's on you in IT, if you own the platform, to somewhat provide them a pathway to get to that kind of situation where they can develop for the organization. So you've got badges. I like
Nice.
to promote an internal MVP style scheme
Yeah.
where, again, it's clever because people are incentivized, I guess, by engaging with the community. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they get a contribution, maybe it's a blog article on a hub site about how they've done a particular piece of functionality, or maybe they've even helped someone or mentored someone, they get a contribution.
I love it.
And then if they get something that, in terms of get enough contributions, they can get some badges. Everyone loves a badge and a signature, or a
Mm-hmm.
workshop with our pro dev team. So big things coming. I'm excited, but yeah, I guess that's a really long-winded answer to your question.
It's good. James, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If there's a guest you'd like to see on the show, please message me on LinkedIn. If you want to be a supporter of the show, please check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Stay safe out there and shoot for the stars.